Hey, good morning, sports bettors. Matt here with OddsJam. Week 4 is almost in the books. We just have the Monday Night Football game tonight. But what that means is we have early bets to lock in for Week 5. Now, before I get into it, just going to do a little bit of a recap of how Week 4 went for me. So because I was out at the end of last week, I wasn't able to get my 4 best bets in. So those remain at 7 and 5, unchanged from last week. The Sweat the Bets that are from the Sweat the Bet podcast, which is available at any iOS store anywhere you get your podcast from. Sweat the Bet, presented by OddsJam, hosted by me, aka Jedi Modai, and Andrew Kim, aka the Parlay Doc. Each week we give out 3 of our best bets. I, for the second week in a row, went 1-1-1. The Bills -3 pushed, which hurt because if they just went for the touchdown at the end, that would have covered. Granted, probably was the right football move for them to not go for the touchdown. It just hurt from a degenerate gambler's perspective. I had the over in that game, much less scoring than I thought. And then I had the under, which lost, I should say. The under in that game, over in that game lost. And then I had the under in the Panthers versus Cardinals. That one hit with relative ease, thankfully. The underdog plays, I had 3. So far, I am 1-1, just waiting on the Rams tonight. I got them at plus 125, so we'll have to see how that goes. Luckily, I am still alive somehow with my survivor picks. I had the Packers last week. They won. So in this video, I'm not going to be giving out everything I just mentioned. That was just a little bit of a recap. But what I will be doing is giving out early bets to lock in for Week 5. Now, I will say, getting in on lines early for the NFL has gone pretty well for me. I would say my early bets have gone pretty well. So when lines first open, sportsbooks, they don't accept as much action, right? They'll have even higher limits than normal on their action that they accept. So you could take advantage of some pretty mispriced lines if you're able to get in on a play early. For example, the play that I really like, what we have up here, is the Detroit Lions money line at plus 135 against the New England Patriots. The Lions, somehow, they've scored the most points in the entire NFL. The reason why they sit at 1-3 is because they've also allowed the most points in the entire NFL. It's kind of how that works. But I think that their time is going to come. You wonder who the Patriots are going to start at quarterback, and even if it's Brian Hoyer, I still like the Lions in this one. So they're going to be a half unit play for me. I'm going to put $50 on the Detroit Lions money line. Let's see if PointsBet accepts it, which they did. So we got a half unit on the Lions money line against the Patriots. Now let me just add this one to my bet tracker, and we are good to go. So this was the play, the Detroit Lions money line plus 135 on PointsBet. A couple of things to start here. Number one, the reason why I like this play, the most important reason, it's positive expected value. It's a positive EV play. I found using OddsJam, going to the OddsJam software, finding when you use the OddsJam software, you are able to find plays that have an edge over the sportsbook you place the bet on. In this case, we are looking at PointsBet, the plus 135 on the Lions money line. So the no vig line that OddsJam calculates, and this number is based off of thousands and thousands of betting opportunities being back tested, determining which sportsbooks are the best, are the sharpest at pricing odds. Once you have that determination, you can, what OddsJam does is use that information to determine which books are the sharpest, are the most accurate at pricing odds, and then just remove the vig from those books. The vig, of course, is in this column here, being the juice that sportsbooks price odds. It's how they make their money. They charge essentially a tax to all the odds. So in order to get an accurate representation of how a market should truly be priced, you have to remove the vig, and OddsJam does that for you, which is really cool. So in this case, the no vig line prices this at about plus 134, which is why the plus 135 on PointsBet has positive expected value associated with it. Another reason why I like it, and this is really cool, something that you can do on OddsJam, if you're on the positive EV page, if you just click into a play, right? You just click into a play, it pulls up where all the sportsbooks price odds. And in this case, we can see the best odds are plus 135, which we locked in at PointsBet, right? Locked this bet already in. And it gives you the average odds, and you can see where every other book prices it. So we can see most books, every book has this number at plus 130 or lower. No book has this number priced above plus 130, except for Bet Online, which has it at plus 130. Every other book, BetMGM plus 120, plus 124, plus 122, plus 120, plus 122, the lowest at plus 115. And then Betfred also has it at plus 130. But all these books have it priced lower than what we got it at PointsBet, showing you that this plus 135 is a true outlier when you compare it to the rest of, the betting market. So this is the first play that I like. And it's also an underdog team that I like. This isn't my official underdog play, or underdog video. I'll have a video giving out 3 underdogs that I like, but this is one that I will add for week 5. So you guys got a nice sneak preview of an underdog play that I like. So this is the first early bet that I have locked in. The next one that I wanted to look at is this Titans Commanders. We're looking at the under 43.5. So this is a play that I'm going to lock in on Circa Sportsbook. I'm going to put a full unit on this one, has been locked in, under 43.5, minus 107 in the Titans versus Commanders. This makes sense. Both of these offenses stink. The Carson Wentz experience in Washington has not gone well. He's been horrible. That they scored 12 points last week. They scored like 9 points, 8 points against the Eagles the week before. Not looking good. Now they go against a Titans defense that isn't great. It's not one of the best defenses, but they do have a decent defensive line. So you figure Jeffrey Simmons should be able to force Carson Wentz into the mistakes that we're used to seeing. On the Titans side, another bad offense, and they just lost their rookie receiver, Treylon Burks. The injury hasn't been confirmed yet. It's not looking good. So I actually like this one a lot from a football perspective. It's also, and this is of course the most important part, it's positive expected value. The no vig line prices this at about minus 111, minus 112 if you want to round up. We got it at minus 107 on Circa. So this gap is where you get your positive expected value from. This one has a profit margin of roughly 2%. Pretty good play here. And then just look at the lines, right? Minus 107 on Circa. Every other book, except for it looks like FoxBet and BetRivers, that prices this total, has the under as the more likely scenario, right? PointsBet has the under at minus 125, the over at minus 105. FanDuel, minus 115 towards the under, minus 105 towards the over. BetRivers, it would also be a positive EV play. So if you don't have Circa, but you do have BetRivers, you could lock it in at minus 109. It's still positive EV, as you can see from the no big odds here. FoxBet, same thing at minus 110, just lesser of a play. But BetRivers is legal in most of the states that obviously Circa is not. So for those of you that don't have Circa, go ahead and lock this one in on BetRivers. And then, of course, the OddsJam line, pricing this at minus 124, heavily favoring the under. Another thing I like is if you're betting spreads or totals, if you open pages up in a new tab, it pulls up where every sportsbook prices this play. So we got the under at 43.5. And look at where every other book that prices this total prices it at 43, 42.5. Even some books have it at 42, like Caesars. Every other book is telling you that the total should be priced below this amount. 43, 42.5, like Betfred, PointsBet, DraftKings, BetOnline, which is another sharp book, has it at 43. Bookmaker, Pinnacle, WinBet, BetMGM has this at 42.5, a full point lower. And with totals this low, like 43.5 is a pretty low total. Getting these pricing discrepancies, getting these total discrepancies is very important. I know it probably doesn't seem like a big deal when you just think about it, like, oh, you're beating it by half a point. No big deal. I can promise you a couple things. Number one, even if you beat the closing line by even half a point, if this total ends at 43, you lose these two bets. This one pushes. The only bet you would have won was the one that we took by line shopping. You'll feel like a genius. Another thing, beating the closing line, even by half a point, can go from winning 50% of your bets to winning 60% of your bets, which is literally the difference between losing and making money. So very important to be line shopping, to constantly beat the closing line where you can, which is exactly what we're doing in this case. Under 43.5, minus 107 on Circa, or minus 109 on BetRivers if you don't have Circa. This is my second play. The third and final one, let me refresh this to make sure that the odds are still constant, that I really liked, the New York Jets plus 3.5 against the Dolphins. This is another positive expected value play. The no vig line pricing this at about minus 116. We can get it on Caesars at minus 110. So let's lock this one in as well. All right, so we have it up. This is going to be another unit play for me. So for those of you at home, put a unit on this one. Jets plus 3.5 bet has been locked in. So let's talk about it. Again, pretty massive positive expected value play here. Minus 110 on Caesars. PointsBet minus 130. Tipico minus 125. Bet Rivers minus 121. Pinnacle minus 129. Open this one up in another tab, view the event page. We'll see similar logic to what we saw with the other play. We got it with the total play, I should say. We got it at 3.5 at minus 110. Literally every other book that prices it looks like they have it at minus 3. Now, this number, when we are betting on an underdog, it's very, very important. The Dolphins win on a last-second field goal. Your Jets plus 3 pushes. Your Jets plus 3.5 wins. So with the spread, there's certain numbers that are very important to get above or below, depending on if you're backing the underdog or the favorite. In this case, we're backing the underdog at plus 3.5, and this half point is incredibly, incredibly important, obviously, for the field goal. And it's positive EV, right? Like another positive expected value play above 2%. We locked this one in at for a full unit at 2.5 EV percent. This can also be viewed as your profit margin. So I locked in 3 bets. The last 2 had an EV percent of 2%. This one at 2.5. I just made $4.50 from these 2 bets, which I know this 4.5% doesn't sound like a lot. Of course, $4.50 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's just 2 bets. I would imagine you're probably placing more over the course of a football season. And B, this profit will be realized on Sunday. So, if more normal investments like the stock market or the housing or whatever, you're not getting this type of return as quickly as you're getting here. This will literally be realized on Sunday. So even these lower percents, 2.5%, 2%, still very valuable in the long run. So this is my third and final positive EV bet, Jets plus 3.5. Let me just add this one to my bet tracker as well. Click save, and we are good to go. So in terms of the 3 early bets that I locked in, Lions money line at plus 135, under 43.5 at minus 107 on Circa, or minus 109 on Bet Rivers. That's in the Titans-Commanders game. And then Jets plus 3.5, minus 110 at Caesars as my 3 plays. And that is going to be it for my early line shopping video. If you're tailing these, let me know. We'd love to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel to get these plays moving forward. Subscribe to Sweat the Bet at anywhere you get your podcasts. And that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.